What are some of the other struggles that come to your mind when you think about threats to preserving our heritage and into the future?
So when I think about additional threats, education is a main thing that emerges out of Reconstruction, even up until today. We're in South Carolina, in the state of South Carolina, where they are, attempting to ban books related to African American history and culture in general.
My name is Ahmad Ward, native of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, up at the top of the state. It was about 19,000 people there when I was growing up, one high school, one junior high. Now we have two, so it's a big deal now. But everything else around us was farmland, tobacco, near the Great Dismal Swamp. So a lot of history there. If you grew up in this area, they are inundating you with Civil War history. But not once did I hear anything about Mitchellville and everything that went along with it. So when this job opportunity was brought to my attention, and I'm reading this, first town of self-governing formerly enslaved people in the United States. They had their own community, their own set of rules and laws, mayor, council, form of government, the first mandatory school system in the state of South Carolina. Every child between the age of 6 and 15 had to go to school. Organized trash pickup in the 1860s. Each family got a quarter acre of a lot. William Lloyd Garrison was there. Harriet Tubman came there. Clara Barton, who started the American Red Cross, came there. And I'm like, why don't I know anything about this? I, legit, as a pseudo-historian, I was perturbed. Like, how did I make it this far and not know anything about this? We're talking about 500 years of history in Beaufort County. And they talk about most of it, but not this. Thanks to funding from the Mellon Foundation, we will be, hopefully early 2026, unveiling a archaeological research facility, 4,000 square feet, where we can do processing on site instead of setting stuff out of the area. And I'll have a multi-purpose room for us to do programs, not just around this, but just in general for the organization. This will be our first real building, so we're very excited.
I think what's interesting about rural communities is, right, like children get raised to leave because there's a lack of opportunities, right, and a lack of access. And so that led us to wanting to influence and impact high school students. And so we started a program that we call Social Justice Club and Justice Journey, which allows young people in high school in Brunswick, Georgia, to learn about social justice, learn about the history and impact. We started every year taking those students on a trip where they explored historic Black colleges, also understood the history and visited sites in those respective areas. We took our young people to Jaco Island, we took them to Sapelo Island, we took them to Charleston, South Carolina. Last year we took our young people to DC and they visited Howard and Virginia, went to the Capitol. The focus of that particular trip was to understand the power in their voice. And so that's how we sort of ground that work.
Our history tells us that we created public education. So how is it now that we're 200 years down the road and all of a sudden the people who created it all of a sudden are not smart anymore? So we got together with some folks, it was a multicultural group, and we said, hey, we want to have this conversation about education, and we brought all these people together. It was at Royal Baptist in North Charleston. And of course, now we're in a state where we can't even get to the cultural aspects of Gullah Geechee because we're just fighting to be Black at this point, right?
Education is a very difficult system to navigate, and that's not even, we're not even talking about all the other systems our families have to navigate. We're just talking about education. We're very, very excited because we're now into youth organizing, right? Because that has been a missing piece with all of these organizations who say they're working on behalf of children and families. The children are involved. And the children's voice is the most important voice. They are the ones that are impacted the most.
What's the significance of Howard High School?
Well, Howard was the only Black high school in Georgetown at that time, at any time. This used to be our lunchroom. Lunch was a quarter. We'd come over here every day. There'd be a line. And they'd feed you a substantial meal. It wasn't no fast food or anything like that. It was a substantial meal. It was wonderful. I didn't know of any other way of schooling except what we were taught here. And our teachers knew our parents. So we have a lot of history in here. We're trying to preserve as much of it as we can.
The West End is special because we were a thriving community. We didn't have to depend on any other resources because we had neighborhood stores where we could go and purchase items. We had services. Right here on the corner you had Poot. Poot was the beautician. Remember the house right here? That's where you go and get your hair did. All right, that was Poot. Her house is still there. As a matter of fact, it's up for sale now. But that's where they went. Everything centered around Howard.
Penn Center here is where I really got started with cultural things, writing plays and stuff like that. We were part of a youth group for cultural enrichment. This is where we came to learn about integration before we actually integrated the schools. We were one of the first families to integrate the schools here. In fact, where we perform now, I was sharing this morning with the people at the symposium. This very auditorium was the auditorium we integrated in when I was in 3rd grade.
So this is St. Helena Island, South Carolina. Lots of wealth here, lots of riches, lots of absentee landowners because it was a little too buggy, diseasey on this island. White planters prefer to live a little bit more inland. So you had already a kind of a semi-autonomous community, self-organizing. And so the Union forces came in here, liberated everybody, and started the process of figuring out what does black freedom mean in the wake of slavery. So that's 1861. 1862, the Penn School starts as a project of missionary charity. And then as American philanthropy formalized itself during the Gilded Age, we became a darling of that philanthropy. We're doing all kinds of training. We were a site for community empowerment. Even though everybody couldn't go to school at Penn School because it was tuition. You could pay that in money or you could pay that in farm goods.
Saffron, Southeastern African American Organic Farmers Network, they had a workshop in Savannah, and they were looking for new farmers just started, farmers just initially starting their organization. And I went and I took some of them with me, some of my students with me, and they talked to us about a CSA. I never heard of it, Community Supported Agriculture. That's when you grow for your shareholders. So you first have to get shareholders to buy into your farm. Buy-in being, when I harvest, you get to reap some of the harvest. If I don't harvest, you don't get anything. And that's just the way we did it. And we set it up. We got our 501c3, set the CSA. We had about maybe 10, 15 members when we first started. And every week we would go to there's a South Carolina Coastal Community Development Corporation, not too far from here.
My name is Marilyn Hemingway. I am a Gullah Geechee from the entire coast of South Carolina. I am CEO and president of the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce and the Gullah Geechee Chamber Foundation and a couple other for-profit organizations. The intention when I founded the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce was to cover the entire corridor. So we have a presence in all 4 states, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. In particular, we have 2 offices in South Carolina, possibly a 3rd coming on board in 2025, and we have 1 office in Georgia, Brunswick, Georgia. The plan is to have an office in each state, and I think we're well on our way.
I am on Bluffton Town Council, and in the role that I have, I'm able to advocate on a much larger scale ordinarily because I'm now at the tables. In my position with Blackwoody, been able to help advocate for how do we teach and get natives and black business owners access to city contracts and being able to take advantage of vendor opportunities that come up. And I recognize that the access, is there, but before I get to make those requests to try to see how we can marry the two, I have to make sure that folks are ready for that.
I am Sonia Grant, 5th generation Native Islander of Hilton Head Island, of the Grants of Hilton Head Island. My grandparents, Abe and Charlemagne Grant, owned one of the first ever restaurants on Hilton Head. They were in business for about 40 years. It started off as a general store, which grew to a cafe and then eventually grew into Abe's Native Shrimp House. Full restaurant, full bar, with workforce housing also on the property. I started Gullah Geechee Things in 2020 after being laid off from Belk. I was a beauty manager for Lancome Cosmetics at the time. So I wanted a way that I could get into the fashion industry, but have it mean something. I didn't want just a fly-by-night fashion business. I wanted culture involved, I wanted family involved, I wanted something that was bigger than me.
In the beginning, when I started doing insurance, I was doing it from house to house. But then I started learning about community service programs that would offer assistance to people that really needed help with their homes. So I started investigating, linking up with nonprofit programs. I would call my clients back and said, hey, I found some people that could help you with this situation. Like, I think that your asthma might be connected to the mold that's in your house. So I started connecting my clients with these organizations. Over time, some people even got new homes, and that was so gratifying to me. So I kept on doing that, and it got to a point where we were helping so many people with the social services, and I don't get paid for doing these things. It was just, I was just connecting these people that it took a lot of time away from what I really needed to do. So I created a nonprofit so that we could train enough people to be able to go out there and replicate exactly what I was doing from door to door with insurance, except they would just be helping people connect with social services like Medicaid or food stamps, help with their homes, repairs, and a number of other different things. I started doing that, opened up 7 Dimensions Outreach.
My Daisies, to me, is beyond a dream come true, and I can't tell that story without talking about the origin of my Daisies and how it came to be. I loved my grandmother Daisy because even though I'm an 80s baby, everything about her and the environment was a step in time. We didn't go to the grocery store for anything because they had it all. We had our own hogs, we had chickens across the street. And her famous dishes were gumbo and red rice. So in the community, anyone could come to her porch and you were getting a meal. She didn't have to know you at all. Her first question would be like, you want something to eat? So that is the inspiration as we lead into My Daisies. And it's the culture through every possible imagination of the senses. You'll be able to taste it as we have a restaurant. You'll be able to feel it, as we'll have retail space there for Gullah and Black-owned vendors that are artisans and crafting very unique things. You'll be able to hear it, through the entertainment that we have there. I have an ironsmith who's designing for us a custom bottle tree that'll have 75 limbs on each that we'll have our bottles and stuff on. Because culturally for us, it's day clean was the belief that with the dawn and the dew of a new day, you're able to wash away whatever evil spirits or haints, as they called it, existed. I love that I'll be able to put the culture on display in a way that allows people to know we're not monolithic. We're creative, we're entrepreneurs, we have ingenuity, we do everything.
The Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail is the first tourism destination marketing website developed by Gullah Geechee, owned by Gullah Geechee, and promoted by Gullah Geechee. And this was started because I was approached by the South Carolina Sea Grant Consortium to apply for a NOAA, to apply for a grant to fund the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail. And I was like, right up our alley, economic development, economic justice, and environmental justice. Because we believe if we don't have a healthy environment, we cannot have healthy people, we cannot have healthy households, we cannot have a healthy community.